So Aaron, for all of our listeners that have not met Aaron Summers one of our favorite people, one of our dearest friends, been with our company, the parent company.
The best, dude.
For the longest time. Started off at Supplement Superstores. His story is awesome. It shares some incredible perspective. I encourage, if you work for Supplement Superstores and you're listening to this podcast right now, you need to go to episode number 105 and give it a listen. Absolutely incredible to hear the big decisions that you had to make as a young man. I haven't listened back to the episode in a minute, but I'll never forget you talking about just, you had a college degree, you had a really great paying job. I want to say it was like $80,000-$90,000 a year, circa
Survey
2014.
Or what were you doing?
You're close.
No,
Geology.
Geology.
Yep.
Yeah.
He dug rocks.
Licked rocks if you ask Sal.
Licked rocks. And
which is a real geological thing. You can lick rocks. That's a part of it,
Yeah.
But you drove like unbelievable hours. I believe from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Drove from Minnesota for his interview, and got a job as an hourly employee, making $10 an hour or something like that at Supplement Superstores. Probably less at that
Definitely
time.
less. I think it was $7.26 an hour.
Mm-hmm. And just made yourself valuable. Saw opportunity all along the way. Worked alongside Will, who's also been on our podcast, Will Grubke.
Yep.
And
great episode as well.
Mm-hmm. And dude, just to get to this point now where you have just never had a true job title, it seemed like along the way, you've always just looked at everything that's been put on your plate as an opportunity. And I think it's so cool to see where you are today. And so many people have so much respect for you within our company and speak of you in a really top speak of you in really highly.
The last episode that we had, probably one of the most commented on by our staff ever.
Yeah,
very
which
cool.
is super cool.
100%. And all that to be said, it's like they don't understand that there's opportunity today, tomorrow, every day, where a lot of people just look at that as bullshit or hard work or they put that on your plate.
Yep.
People have all these reasons to make something like a problem for themselves, but you've always looked at things as an opportunity and had a great attitude towards things and looked at how great you can do something versus what can I get away with and still be told good job.
Yep. Yep.
And it comes through, especially where first time you ever you had to be in charge of putting on Summer Smash, and now you still have that job.
But you had that,
fortunately or unfortunately.
That's right.
You had that background in
event planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, when you plan out, building a mine and the profitability of the mine, it's the same as putting on an event in some ways.
Right.
Yeah. Real similar job shift there.
Applicable, of
Yep.
course. So Summer Smash, last time we talked about it, it was 9 years in. We are now, It's been 2 years since then. And Summer Smash 2026, looking to be your guys' best ever. It's 11th year doing it.
Yep.
What has happened?
12th year doing it, 11th
12th?
event, because we skipped 1 year with COVID.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
So it'll
right.
be
That was
12 years since we had our first one,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be the 11th overall event.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've missed 2 of them. How many have you missed?
I don't even know.
You missed any?
None.
Yeah, man.
I mean, how could he miss it?
I missed 2022.
Yeah.
That was a sad
I
year.
think about that because there's guys who are like, I
missed
won't be
Pitbull.
there because my friend's got a wedding or something. Like, what's that even like to be
Right.
optional of, maybe I'll come, maybe I won't
Yeah,
go.
I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, one of the greatest years ever was, the day that Sal had his firstborn son, Enzo,
Yep.
on Summer Smash. And still he came to Summer Smash.
For sure. Which
First child was
TJ
born.
LaFavor, his wife's do the week of Summer Smash. So that's the joke we're playing with him. Like,
Yeah.
all right, he comes.
Yeah.
You showing up or not? So
That's right. We lost Freddie
And
last
then
year to that.
he hates that. Anything you could hold over his head. I mean, you guys know TJ.
Yeah.
But if he has a child, doesn't show up,
Quitter.
100% forever. Sal will hold that over his
Oh,
head.
man. I thought you cared.
Not a company guy.
Yeah.
Not a company guy.
Yeah.
Not loyal. That's okay.
I guess
I understand. I get it.
Your child's going to remember this and really be upset about it.
That's right. That's right. No, but to what you were talking about, I think that's, from just my story and getting there, it's something I love talking about, and I'm glad, obviously for everybody it has too. It's a story that both gives motivation and, maybe creates some belief for them, because I think for me, that's what drives me every single day, and I think for me, I'm very fortunate to be close to Andy, as you both are, have seen, obviously, from him and Chris starting Supplement Superstores with what they had, to go through so much failure to create so much success, and to continue to go is a very motivating thing to be a part of, because it creates that belief for yourself. And just like me, I grew up in a very rural area of Missouri. There wasn't a lot of individuals in my life. Social media wasn't really a thing, what it is at least today, when I grew up. So having that outside motivation of what is even possible or things you could do was just never present, and I think back to like not having a specific job title and still taking things as an opportunity and not just like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. Like, I've had a great job before. I've had a great income before. And I know what it's like to have that, but not be fulfilled with what you do or who you do it with. And I mean, I was just talking about this with our team today. Like, there's not really many things or any, let's take an outside company and want to hire me, amount of money that you could pay me to go do something else with somebody else. Because for me, I truly love what we do every single day, and I love who we do it with. And that doesn't mean it's always good days. There's a lot of bad days. You guys have seen them. There's a lot of stress that goes involved. Obviously, with the Summer Smash event coming up, it's a big event. It's a lot of money put into it. There's a lot that can go wrong. Obviously, all of the people coming in, they're spending their hard-earned money, their time away from family, jobs, taking vacation to be here. We have to deliver on our promise that, like we have for the last 10 events, we're going to give them an amazing experience. So there's a lot of pressure behind those things. But for me, like, we do such a cool thing, we do it with amazing individuals. And for me, it's never been about the job title or the income. Like, are those things nice? Yes, for sure. Am I in a much better place now than I was when I got started making $7.25 an hour? Yes, 100%. But something I tell people all the time is I'm just as happy doing what I'm doing now as I was then. And no house or vehicle or raise or position I've ever gotten has changed how I felt about what I did. So regardless of what it was I was asked to do, I never looked at it from a lens of I'm too good for that or that's below me, because I view it as, hey, we are one team. And I truly don't care. Whatever it takes for us to accomplish what we need to do, okay, well, I am an equal part of that. If I have the ability to go do in that piece, okay, cool, I'll do that. I don't care. And I understand the more of us that think that way, the more of us that act that way and are willing to do what is required, also is what allows us to accomplish the goals that we have. So I don't know. I just view it as a very unique opportunity. And I think having that past experience and having a good job, but not loving what you do, and I, even though that's a long time ago, over 12 years ago, like, I vividly remember that because I think about it all the time of different life choices you make and how that plays out. And while at the time it was a big risk to walk away from that to take a entry-level job, retail sales, that everybody in my life thought I was crazy for doing. I knew from the first week I was there, like, I love this. I like it. Even though I wasn't making a lot of money, I was having to work second and third jobs just to pay my bills, because I felt fulfilled with what I did every day.
How do you, basically what you're explaining is the ultimate like ownership mindset, right? You look at things like it's not somebody else's responsibility. It's my responsibility. I'm responsible for the outcome of the company in general, or I play a big part in that. You now being an executive at Phorm, how many employees do you have?
Mid 300.
Mid 300. A lot of employees. So how do you create that mindset in other people now?
Yeah, I think that is the challenge, and that's again where it's helpful for me, because when I started at Phorm, there was 10 of us.
Right.
And
it's like we all got to go.
That was legitimately the situation we were in. Everybody had to do everything. So, part of that for me in our current organization, I'm still very hardwired that way of we're all going to do whatever needs to be done to accomplish what we're trying to do. But to your point, that becomes exponentially harder to do as there's more people, and legitimately there are more roles, and this is your job and this is your job to continue to instill that into other people. And I think the biggest thing is with that is one, you have to continue to emulate that by the example you set every single day. Again, whether it's cleaning the trash cans out or picking up trash off the floor, well, it's really hard for me to start changing how I view that. If that's not my responsibility now, because there's other people on the team that could do that, that haven't been here as long when I still see Andy do it every single day, or I see Sal do it every single day. Well, if they're still doing it, why would I not doing it?
Right.
So I think part of that is, from the top down piece of it, like it has to be that. We have so many companies that come into HQ all the time. And that's one of the main things they ask. How do you get the team to buy in on doing all these things? Whether it's straightening the weights in the gym, or it's wiping out the sinks in the bathrooms, or whatever it is. And that's the biggest thing that I always talk about. Like, hey, look, this is not a rule for us that just gets instilled to the team of everybody does all these things. Like, it is a standard that we hold as an organization, and nobody is better than that standard. It is not, well, leadership doesn't have to do that because they've already done that. No, to this day, everybody is going to do these things this way. And if not, then you're not going to be here. And that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make us a bad person. But this is the standards we have. And you either want to buy in and live up to those standards, or you don't. And that's okay. You can go do that somewhere else.
We've just had some recent conversations with some people on our team where we had to explain to them, kind of that mindset that you're explaining, but trying to get him to feel it versus understanding, like, it's easy to, I think, get to a place where now when the opportunity arises for you to show that, it's hard to put it through your own filter and recognize like how much that's going to inconvenience you or how much that's going to not be a part of your plan. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's time to be that person. And so, the recent conversation I had, it was just like, hey, it's not about like, what do I need to do to get to where I want to be? It's like, who do you want to become? Because if that's who you need to be and it doesn't stop when you get there, the weight just feels different. You can carry it easier. It's not about what to do. It's
for
who
sure
you need to be.
And I think that's the kind of the other side of your question, not, getting away from just like the standards of cleaning up, but like buying in of having ownership of the company, even though it's not my company. I think to your point, that's not everybody. Not everybody is going to act that way. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. Everybody has different goals for what they want out of their life. But I think for me, like I have a large purpose and drive for what I want to accomplish. So I've always looked at, how do I do this? And I knew from when I started at Supplement Superstores, I mean, there was, dozens of other people that wanted the job that I got in front of me, that had been there longer, that knew more about the supplements, that were more skilled in the job than I was. But for me, I viewed that as, okay, well, I could wait my turn in line here and be the 46th person or whatever that maybe has the opportunity to have the job. Or how do I skip that? And how do I go first? What would it take for me to do that? And then I think that comes down to, well, who do you want to be and what do you want out of your life? Like, if I really want this and I don't want to wait my turn in line, but I want to accomplish this, then it's going to come at this cost, which for me at the time was, I am going to have to be all in on everything. I'm going to have to do things other people aren't willing to do on their day-to-day that don't make sense financially or with their time. Not having, girlfriends, not going out and doing things, not having any hobbies, not doing anything other than what is going to progress me in my career. And for me, I talk about it again with people all the time. Like I was fortunate in the sense of I was still young. I'm still young comparatively, but in my career, I mean, I was 23 years old. I had no significant other. I had no family. I had nobody that was depending on me or I was robbing time of per se,
Yeah, but here's the truth about that. Most people don't. You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
For
like
sure.
People will create that where it's like they feel, and it really, it's having kids that really goes, oh shit.
For
like,
sure.
I did have a lot of time.
But again, like I was, raised in an environment where my family struggled my entire upbringing. And I knew I didn't want that. I knew I not only didn't want that for my future family, but I wanted to be in a spot to give my family a great life and also take care of my extended family. And if I was going to accomplish those things, it was going to take me going far above and beyond what I just need to do for myself. So, I don't know. How do you create that in other people? I think they have to see an opportunity for that. And I think that's, again, I was very blessed from even before I was with Supplement Superstores and just following Andy online to see that, to hear his vision, to hear what he was talking about doing and what he had created. And that inspired me. And I think that's part of the process of as you're building a team, how do you find those people that resonate with that message, that are inspired by it, that believe they could be something greater and not just a cog in the wheel or just doing a job, that's the hardest thing to do. It is hard to scale a company or a team of people, especially quickly, and make sure they're all great fits. We've made mistakes with that when we're in rapid phases of growth and you don't have time to, truly vet every single person, and you end up bringing in people faster than you probably should, but because the business needs it. And then you get a year down the road, 2 years down the road, and you realize, that wasn't really a good fit.
Right.
They don't have the right mindset. They don't want to do those things. They do just want to show up and clock in, clock out, do their job, and be done with it. And again, that is fine for some people or some organizations that need those type of positions. But especially for us, for you, as you're looking to grow and build something amazing, like you do have to have that buy-in from the people on the team, or at least the majority of people on the team that see their opportunity to play a bigger role. Because if they don't see that opportunity, why would they spend that extra time, investing in their career and doing these extra things that they're maybe not getting paid for right now, or whatever it is.
Right.
Hey guys, if you haven't already, please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe. All of that goes a really long way for us. We are just a local podcast. We don't run any ads. So all we ask in return, if you're finding any value or if you're supporting somebody that you know on this podcast as far as a guest goes, do us a favor, please. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, maybe share it with a friend. It'd mean a lot to us. Let's get you back to the episode.
I remember when Andy, the thing that hit me the most, and this was probably in like 2011, and it was him saying, if you want to eventually own your own business, you have to, every day you step foot into the store, treat it like it is your own business.
Yeah.
And he's like, imagine you took every bit of money in your bank account, which mine was probably like $50 at the time. All my $50.
You had money in the
You
bank
kept
account?
all that cash in your top drawer. I know
That's
you
true.
do.
I did have a little money back then. And you put it all in that, and that was all you had. And you had to make every customer that came into that store come back and tell other people about you. And that made such an impact on me when I was young. And it's funny how certain things can impact certain people certain ways and change the course of their life. And then some other people, I was sitting in a room with, 30 other dudes that heard that same thing.
Yep. Didn't do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just didn't do anything with it.
There's a point I want to make too, where, you're talking about, we all heard these messages when we were in our early 20s, where you had the full freedom to just send it, right? Like really nothing else you had going on, truly, if we're being honest. And so now we're sitting here in a room, everybody in here is married, kids to take care of, since our last podcast. Congrats on Sloan.
Thank you.
Aaron,
It's wonderful.
Very
a
exciting.
beautiful little daughter. Super sweet. Can't wait to hang out with her this weekend or next weekend. But you got a situation where, your wife's an entrepreneur. She owns her own business. You've got a daughter now. It's like, how do you find, a lot of people that are young that work for us, they think in their head, like, when I get older, right, I'm going to start this family. I'm going to have freedom, all these things. They romanticize, I think, a vision of which, like, I'm only going to have to work this hard for this long.
Yep.
How do you balance that now while you are clearly an intentional husband, an intentional father, an intentional friend, an intentional family member, a son, a brother?
Yeah. Yeah. Sal talked about this all the time before I had a child. I think, I don't have time now, and all of these cliche things, and it really aren't cliche at all about having kids. Mm-hmm. And it is. It's all of those things that he has said or that anybody has ever told me is all true. It goes way faster than you think. Like, I can't believe Sloan's going to be 2 this year. Like, it moves so fast. And like, obviously having a child, and you guys both know, is like there's stuff going on all the time. It is hard. Like, you don't have the free time you once did. I used to be able to go home from work, and if Tay and I both wanted to work the rest of the evening, we could work the rest of the evening and not have to worry about it at all. Well, now we have a child there, and it comes down to that dichotomy of, okay, well, are we going to be good parents, or are we just going to be good at our jobs? Mm-hmm. Well, obviously we want to be good parents. So it forces you another level even deeper of how do you prioritize and execute on a daily basis. And I think that's what has helped me the most, because I would argue that I likely get even more done now, even though I have less time. But I am very intentional every single day of where am I going to invest that time. I'm not going to get on social media and just scroll and check out what's going on. I don't even care. Because on the range of things that are important to me and what I'm trying to accomplish, how do I be a great dad? How do I be a great husband? How do I be a great leader? How do I do a great job in the role that I'm in? It's not impacting any of those things, So, okay, well, it makes it really easy for me to just, all right, cool, just cut it out, just be done with it, and focus on looking at your day, because you have to plan a lot more. what's coming down the pipe tomorrow? What do I need to get done? When am I going to fit it in? How are we going to do it? And show up and execute those things. And I'm not perfect, as neither of you are, or as neither is anybody. But every day you just analyze that, because there's days where I'm better at work than I am a husband at home or a father to my daughter. There's days where I'm a better father and husband than I am at work, and trying to balance in that constantly of all of these things are very important to me. I want to be my best in all of these areas. So how do I spend my time to best allocate for that? And Tim Grover talks about it of, I think the, goal for a lot of people is creating that balance at home and here and, all of those different things. And he talks about true balance is not a real thing, because it's what's balance on a scale. It's zero. It means we're making zero progress in any of those areas. And that's not what I want either. So, and I'm very blessed to have an amazing wife who, like you said, is a great entrepreneur. She's done a lot of great things in her business. And gets it mentally for what it takes to accomplish those things. And so having a great partner to support you and understands that is a big piece for me. It allows us to operate well together. If she needs to go to work early one day to get stuff done, and I'm going to stay home a little bit later, so the next day I can go in early so she can stay later. Like, we just balance off of each other from that standpoint. But the phase how we look at it, and especially for myself, is, okay, well, I'm probably over-invested still in work and under-invested maybe as a dad, but with the goal of, okay, well, later in life when Sloan gets older, I want to be over-invested there. I want to be able to go to whatever game she plays or whatever she does. If, she's playing soccer as Tay would have it, or maybe golf would be more my route for her. But I want to go to those things. I want to be involved. So what is it going to cost me now to accomplish that later? Okay. Am I willing to pay that? More importantly, are my wife and I willing to pay that together?
Yeah, I think
and
that's,
being on the same page.
Hitting on the partner aspect of things is so huge, dude.
For sure.
Huge. Obviously we've been coming to St. Louis every week, and it's like, I have 3 kids, and
that takes a lot. She wears the brunt of it.
She is wearing it right now. And
Kim's the best.
She never says anything about it, is just fully supportive of me. But I think that just goes back to, we have great partners, that understand. I would say that a long time ago knew that they were getting involved with people who are high achievers.
Yep.
And to be in a relationship with somebody who's like that, it just takes a special person that understands that there's going to be weekends that, those weekends are going to be gone. There's going to be times where you got to work, late into the night, that type of stuff. And if you are misaligned and you have somebody that is, you're trying to fit into, this position, and you have these big aspirational goals, it's half of the reason why a lot of the guys on the S2 side, and I'm sure this happens with First Phorm too, where it's like,
they don't realize the potential they have because they can't make that investment.
Right.
Right. And I think that's for a younger person listening, one of the best things you could do is pick a great partner.
Right.
That is the biggest blessing I have, is my wife, who is an amazing partner. That allows me to do those things. I mean, 2 weekends ago, something came up, Friday night that Sal told me about I was going to have to be gone all day Saturday, like 20 hours, that I just last minute tell her about. And I think the thing that makes me feel most comforted and supported is in those moments when I know that means that she's going to have to cancel all of her plans. She's going to have to take care of our daughter all day, do everything with it. She's like, hey, you absolutely should be there. You 100%. And even along the day, when I thought it wasn't going to be as long, she's like, no, you should stay. You should do this. Knowing that's costing her something, that she's not, complaining at me about those things. She's
you have
supporting
somebody
me and
that's
pushing
on
me,
your
like,
side.
no, go do it.
Right. You have a teammate.
That's very hard to do what you need to do to accomplish great things, whether it's in your career or whatever you're doing, when you have somebody nagging at you in the back. And that misalignment, I think, is one of the things that for most people brings them down, whether it's in a partner or just the expectations they have in life. I mean, one of the, I think, greatest people I had on my team at one point that left because of that, because they were young and they were great in the role. They were doing amazing things early on in their position. But all their friends were going to the lake every single weekend and going out to the bars, and they felt like that was too much to miss.
Right.
I don't know if I want to miss this piece and continue to invest so much in my career. And I mean, we had a just open conversation about it. Like, hey, look, man, like, if you continue doing what you're doing and working the way you're working, like, you have a legitimate chance to completely change not just your life, but your family's life. But it's going to cost you, just like it costed me. It's going to cost you your nights. It's going to cost you your weekends. It's going to cost hobbies. It's going to cost friends along the way.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
what you have to ask yourself is, do you want that future life that you are trying to build, or at least a chance at it? Or do you want what everybody else has?
It
Do
is.
you want to live the normal life? There is a national average income, house amount, all of those things for a reason. Because if you do what everyone does, that is what you're going to get. And that's just what you have to accept, whatever age you're at, of like, hey, unless I am going to do something abnormal, I am most likely, there is the lottery winner out there, but I am most likely going to get what everybody else gets. I'm going to struggle with debt. I'm going to struggle with paying my bills. I'm going to live paycheck to paycheck. We're just going to do this.
Right.
And you either pay that cost now or you pay it later. You know, and some people aren't willing to pay that cost. And again, that's
I also
okay.
think there's an aspect of like the unknown that people are like, well, maybe if I make this much money and I get weekends off, then maybe that will be enough for me, right?
For sure.
And
I think it is probably enough for a lot of people.
that is very true.
they don't
There
get
are
a
some
chance
people that
to-
when they're going, I'm like, this is probably the best for you.
For sure.
Oh, for sure. But it's like a lot of people, unfortunately, don't get the chance to recognize that they had more in them or not because they started that family.
Yep.
And now they're stuck in the sense of like they just don't have the freedom they once had to pursue their potential.
Yep.
And they're like, well, this is what I have to do at this point just to
For sure.
put food on the table.
For sure. You know, and I think that's the hardest position to be in. But even in that position, to Kyle's point, because I just look at, again, let's talk about the averages. You know, most people, I would imagine, if you ask them, they say they want to make more money. They say they want a better position. They say they want a better partner or relationship or to be a better parent. But what are they actually spending their time on to do those things? You know, and again, like just like we talk about internally, reading 10 pages a day of a personal development based book, like that's not a big thing. You know, I mean, if you're a good reader, I'm not. You know, it probably takes me 30 minutes, but a good reader, maybe you get that done in 10 minutes and really retain the information. It's not a lot. Most people don't do it because, you know, I think to everybody's kind of point, like there's no immediate payoff. I don't read the 10 pages and tomorrow I'm in a better spot. It's a culmination of years of doing those little things that most people don't do that then build the skill set over time that allow you to do great things. You know, or you look at
interest.
you look at it from they say they don't have time. They don't have time to maybe do a little bit extra at work or work on building maybe a side business that they really have the passion to create that they could be really successful at. But you look at the average person that spends 4 hours a day watching TV, and that's just the national average. You know, like people can say, oh, I don't watch that much TV. The average nationwide amount of TV that people watch is 4 hours a day.
This is crazy.
4 hours is a lot of time. That is 60 continuous days. Check my math. I'm not a mathematician. Again, geologist. I do have to do a lot of math in that role, but not a mathematician. I could be off. 60 complete days, you know, of time. 24-hour days. 60 of them in a row is how much that equates out to, I believe, over the course of a year.
Right.
So you're telling me you don't have time.
Yeah.
You know, but again, and that's
People
where I get
need their
frustrated.
leisure, Aaron.
Yeah, yeah. When have you ever? I understand in the moment, like that's me too. Like I always think I want a day off to do nothing, but as soon as I have a day off to do nothing,
No,
I'm
it's
sitting
never
there,
nothing.
I'm like, I don't want to
look at those leaves in the
for
pool.
the first hour. Maybe
Right.
it's good, and then after that, it's like, yeah, well, I could get this done, I could get that done. I would feel way better if I did those things than if I just sat here the entire time.
Yeah.
You know, nobody sits down and binge watches TV and then gets up and like, man, I feel amazing from that.
Yeah.
At least maybe people do. I don't. You know,
I feel like it is so easy to stand out too.
for
Like
sure.
what we're talking about is not.
You
I
talk
mean,
about my upbringing through the company. I didn't do anything amazing.
right.
It wasn't like, I mean, you guys probably remember the numbers or could even go back and look at them. I wasn't the top performing salesperson. I wasn't doing new and innovative things. I was just marginally doing more. I was working more hours than maybe the average person. I would work more events than what most people would do. I would drive from the store 40 minutes away to go help out at First Phorm, even though there wasn't a position.
Dude.
Because I knew, like, again, like, if I don't want to wait my turn in line, but I'm going to jump this and I'm going to get it sooner, maybe I don't get first by doing all this, but could I maybe be the 5th person and not the 40th person? Okay, well, it's worth trying to be the 5th person instead of the 40th person. So why not? Again, I didn't have all these outside pressures of people that relied on me. So, okay, I could spend my free time going to the bars or picking up golf or doing whatever I want to do, whatever normal people do, watching TV. Or I could just spend the same amount of time that everybody else is going to spend, but in a productive way that gives me the chance to move forward and live a better life.
Right.
And for me, that's motivating enough. the chance to accomplish whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because if I give it my best and I still fail, I am okay with that. I am okay with being in that situation because I don't have to live with the doubt of, well, could I have had a better life? Could I have done more for my family? Because I know I gave it everything I have.
Right.
And I think that's where most people, to your point, they see that doubt. It's not a guarantee. Yeah. Well, nothing in life is a guarantee. We could all die right now. The building could fall down. We could be dead right now.
There's a guarantee on how you're not going to get it.
Right.
For sure.
And they don't realize they're making that choice.
Of course. Of course.
It's the grass is greener, it's going to be different for me over here. It's like, well, what I always try to tell our team is just like, there's just going to be a point, no matter where you're at in this company, there's just going to be a point in your career where you're going to be called to grow and you're not going to like it. And you're going to feel like, you're wrong and your attitude's going to need some readjustment and your ego is definitely going to have to be deflated to some degree. And it's either like, you're going to either grow or you're going to decide, you know what, I can be the same person over here and somehow still accomplish more. And it's just never how it works. And over and over again, tails.
Growth is always uncomfortable, and that's why I love what we do in fitness, because I think it's so similar. Again, like none of us walked into the gym the first day and we were jacked. I mean, I would say we're average in shape at best. And we've been all doing this for a long period of time.
I don't know. You came out of the womb with traps, I bet.
It's possible. It's possible. I did have hair for sure. I can show you some photos. But none of us walked in, and for anybody listening, you didn't walk into the gym jacked and in shape. You knew how to do all the movements. You were great at all of them. I mean, what's most people's story? You walked into the gym, you didn't know how to do anything. You were not in good shape either way. I started fitness at a very young age in sports, but still, I'm the youngest guy in the weight room. There's a lot of guys that are 4 or 5 years ahead of me. They're way stronger. They know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel embarrassed. I don't know how to do things, or I can't use a lot of weight. You're on the flip side of that. You're way overweight, same situation. Most of us walk into that situation. You're embarrassed. You don't know what to do, and you're at a bad starting point. Mm-hmm. But how do you get better? Well, you got to learn how to do the movements, how to work out. Okay, let's say you do that. You start working out. Well, if I go to the gym and I do the same movements every day, use the same weight, the same reps, at some point my body's adapted to that. It's no longer a workout. My body can handle that. I'm not going to continue to grow. So if I want to continue to grow and get better, what do I have to do? Well, I have to add more weight or reps or sets or time under tension, which is uncomfortable because I'm going to have to take my body to a failing point where it gives my body the opportunity to grow. Mm-hmm. And how do I continue to progress down that route? Well, every single day or more consistently than I'm not, I have to put myself in the environment where I'm constantly learning how to do it better. I'm failing, but continuing to show up and do the work regardless, even though that it's uncomfortable. And over time, I see marginal improvements. I've been doing fitness for decades of my life, and I'm, again, no elite member of fitness. Am I above average? For sure. Well, then why continue to show up every single day and spend time on focusing on something that is not giving me these huge returns? But I'm okay with that, and this is my biggest gripe on the fitness community, is they get it with fitness. They can be dialed in on their nutrition plan, their workout plan, but when it comes to their career or anything else in their life, they don't have the discipline to do what's required to be successful. They have all of the innate ability to be successful at a career. I am not some overly intelligent person. I studied rocks. Mm-hmm. And if you want the full story of that, I went to school for pre-law, and after my first semester, I am not smart enough to do this. I took a gen geology course. I was really good at that. That's what my dad did. I was like, maybe that's what I'm meant to do. And so I took the path of least resistance. It wasn't even what I originally wanted to do. I took the easy way out. Now, luckily I came back. But again, I have built a great career and success story for myself to this point because I was willing to do marginally more than what the average person was willing to do consistently over time. Doing the things that it made no financial sense. I could have done something else at the same time and probably paid, I know, because obviously I left a job where I was getting paid a lot more money to do it. But I saw an opportunity and I was willing to take the bet on myself and I was willing to play the odds, knowing that, hey, this might not work out. But for me, again, having a great job and not being fulfilled and hating what I did every single day was worth trying something that had an opportunity that I could fail, but I like doing every single day.
Right. But it doesn't work out. What's the worst case scenario?
I go back to the job I had.
Just go get a job.
That's what I mean. So why not bet on yourself?
Right. I totally agree with that.
And how do you get that through to people? That's the struggle.
Yeah, it's hard. It's life.
It's being able to see past your own pain, being able to see past your own insecurities, these I want to talk a little bit, if we could shift gears slightly to what you manage on a day-to-day basis in the form of the Legionnaire program. These are like ambassadors, athletes, people that represent First Phorm online.
Yep.
Is that accurate? Would you like to add to that at all?
No, I mean, I think outside of just the Legionnaire program, you look at our direct-to-consumer business, and whether it's Legionnaires, it's athletes, it's trainers, it's partners, but all of those people in some way are representing the brand, promoting our brand, driving customers to our brand through the website, through the direct-to-consumer business.
And so I bring that up because of the comparison that these people have to do every day without, it's just human nature. It's not, you may not be, doing it on purpose, but you are looking at other people's content. You are looking at how they're posting it, how are they doing, their performance within the program. When you're coaching those people, what are you running into? And are you seeing the same kind of like parallels as you did when you worked in the stores versus when you started first working at First Phorm? Are they dealing with the same kind of issues, or are those issues changed and evolved?
Are you talking about just in the general creator standpoint of like problems that they face?
Yeah, and I think a little bit to this thing that we talked about before we started the podcast. You and I were just talking about it. It feels like the floor of social media has been risen to a high degree, where there's a clear parallel between an influencer or a trainer or coach. Like there's a certain cadence or delivery almost to them versus, like I'll never forget when the Legionnaire program first started. Some of the directions that I know were given were like, hey, just like if you just bought like a mini tripod, it would put you ahead of like 90% of people that post.
Yep.
If you made sure that you had good lighting, now you're like 99% better than most people.
Mm-hmm.
How has that changed for you as far as how you have to coach? And especially with what you talked about with, there's probably more questions to come from this, Aaron, but the amount of time that you don't have and you're so intentional with it. It's like, if I'm spending less time scrolling, how do I help those people still not spending as much time on there?
How are you staying plugged into what's happening on social media?
For sure. Well, obviously we have a great team of people that, are also doing this
are
all
addicted
day,
to social
every
media.
day. And again, but it's less about not being plugged in and being more intentional with the time, because I am very intentional. I am on social media multiple times a day, all day, but I'm not on mindlessly scrolling.
Right.
And I think that goes back into that of, for whatever you're doing, are you intentional? Are you on there for a reason to do a thing, or are you just on there going through the motions and filling time, And so like, to answer your direct question, it is, but it isn't different, in the standpoint of, I think it's very similar to a progression in any career, while in the beginning of social media, certainly easier to stand out, build a brand, and becomes more competitive as there's more platforms and changes to the algorithm and all of those different things. But we work with people that are able to still scale and build a brand very quickly. And there's other people that, they put in the work, but fail to ever really build anything with it. And I think it comes back to, how are they looking at that every single day, and how seriously are they taking that? I think, in today's landscape of social media, certainly unlikely that you're ever going to do anything, I think, at a high level or build anything of significance with a brand casually doing it. Could you have gotten away with some of that early on, 2010 time frame, is some of that stuff's kind of starting to take off. Could you be a little bit more casual with what you're doing and have more success? For sure. But also everything has scaled with it. The amount of the amount of money somebody would make as a creator on social media back in 2010 is nowhere close to what they would make now. So I think you get out what you put in. Then you could put in less, or you could put in a lot and build a great brand to still not make a ton, and you look at today, well, if you put in not a lot, you're, again, national average for a reason. You're going to get the average return on, what you're going to do on social media. If you really focus on it and every single day you're intentional with it. And yes, are you going to have to pay a little bit more attention to how am I creating this content? What is my call to action? What is the hook that I'm using? What is the visual that's going to grab the user's attention in the picture or video that's going to keep them in here instead of scrolling? Like, you have to be more intentional with it for sure. But at the end of the day, quality of the content has not changed. It is not an indication of performance at all of, do I shoot this on my iPhone, or did we produce this, on, high quality camera somewhere? It's more about, I would say, what is the intention behind the actions and what is the consistency of those actions? No different than I was talking about for working out or in your job. Like you're not going to casually do it and see success. And I think that's what gets most people caught up with it. They still, maybe they were around for that time early on in Instagram days, where it was easier to grow a brand or whatever. They didn't have to take it very serious. And it just has caught up with that piece.
It goes right back to like the growth conversation we're having, where it's like, you know, that fight that you're having, like, should it, like, I wish it wasn't so hard. You know, like, I wish it didn't take this much effort. And that's the wrestling of like, well, I just didn't expect it to be this hard.
For sure.
And it's like, no one wants to say that out loud, you know, and they just hit that spot. And it's like,
I think
it takes what it takes, as they say.
It's a mismanagement of expectations, you know, like you expect to get the maximal return out of a minimal amount of effort. Well, I don't know why you would ever expect that, because that is not life. I wish that was the case. But again, even if I wish that was the case, you know, like, well, then everybody would have the same thing. So then the average again would be there. So would it be any different than the situation? Like, you know, like if you want to be great at anything, it is going to take everything you have to be able to do that. It is not fair. It is not, well, I should have it easier because I have more responsibilities at home and I have more kids and I've put myself in this situation. Well, that's not how it works. It's a competitive environment. Like the best player is going to play. The person that is best at social media is going to get paid the most money. The best person that can sell supplements is going to make the most money. The best person that builds homes is going to make the most money. It is, I mean, that is just the environment we live in. And I think if you expect anything less than that, and that I'm just going to kind of sort of do this and get something great out of it, like that's a mismanagement of expectations. Like you have some unrealistic expectation, and you probably will get slapped in the face with that. And once you do, you have to then live with the outcome of that, of, okay, I was wrong. Am I humble enough to accept that I was wrong and this is not what it takes, and learn that it actually takes this? And if I am willing to learn that, am I willing to pay this to get where I want, or am I okay staying where I'm at?
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't think most people have those conversations with themselves, with their significant others, whatever it is. And they live in this life, you know, saying, I want this. And they tell themselves they're doing the work, but they're not actually doing it on a day-to-day basis, or at least consistently.
Yeah, they're doing what's required and then wondering why they're not getting an extraordinary result.
For sure. And it's easier to buy into the story of, oh, that person got it because they like that person, or they got lucky, or whatever it is. We tell ourselves these stories all the time, you know, because we want to live with our own, you know, BS that we deal with every single day.
Kyle had this saying earlier today. He's like, it's just a decision. He was talking to our manager room here in St. Louis, and he was like, you know, it's just a decision. And most people live in indecision, right? Like they still have the job title, right? But they're not doing the things that are necessary if they want to really move their life forward. They're just doing what's required.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so
it's like, you know, for us, I would guess, you know, when I decided this was what I was doing, it was like, all right, done deal. Let's go.
Yep.
You know, and that's not to say, I mean, I did try and quit at one point, and Andy held me hostage, talked me out of it, but that's not to say you're not going to like have like moments of, you know, doubt or uncertainty. That's life. But, you know, your actions over the long haul are what matter, you know?
I think that's where, or at least for me, you know, and I know you guys have had other people that have been in positions similar to you on the S2 side that, you know, you guys were a lot more all in on your business than they were. And I reflect on that a lot, both watching that happen and just, you know, knowing my tendencies myself and you know, my ability to only focus on so many things. Like for my entire career, this has been my only thing. You know, it's not, well, I'm going to start this side business over here, even though legitimately there's a lot of opportunities to do things over here and things over here that I could make some money doing this. I could make some money doing that. I could buy some rental properties. I could do this. I could do that. But I know in the long term, those will cost me more now than it does then, you know? So like if I chose that path knowing that, okay, I could make more money today, just like leaving my job to come here. Okay, I'm going to make less money. I could stay here and make, you know, the same money, but I'm going to continue to get this. Well, in my current position, okay, well, I could do all these little side things and make some extra money here or there, but then it's distracting me from my main thing over here. And am I willing to be distracted from that? Because again, just like having a child, you know, that's going to take something off my plate.
I had this conversation earlier today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a conversation that it goes back into, I mean, we're our own worst enemies at our times because we can convince ourselves of all kinds of stuff.
Right.
It was really easy to convince myself,
I'm a
oh,
great
I should start up
salesperson,
this
dude.
side
Yeah.
business over here, and I could be making an extra, you know, $30,000 or $60,000, and I don't really have to do a ton. I mean, it might cost me some time every single day, but like, yeah, you know, that would be good. But what is the long-term cost of that? And we don't weigh that enough, whether that's in our career or it's in our relationship or whatever. We think, what feels good right now?
Right.
What is going to get me the most out of right now? And just like Andy has done from the very beginning of having us create vision boards, and what are we trying to accomplish, and what are we manifesting with our work every single day? I don't think if you're not clear on that end point, or not even end point, but future position that you're trying to get into, it's impossible to stay the course long term to accomplish really what you're capable of doing.
Right.
Because life is riddled with all of these distractions that every single day can pull you away from those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is the double-edged sword of that where, when people get too fixated on the future, right? They're not where their feet are. And that's where a lot of people can also get dissatisfied with life.
Yep.
Where they feel like, I hate, all I'm thinking about is the future. The next, hey, Jeff lived his life like this for 10 years.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where it was like, man, I can't wait till I'm out of here. He basically, for the last 5 years, he was living in Springfield. I don't even know, he was not engaged in anything.
Oh, I definitely bitched to Aaron. Aaron knows all about it.
Right.
He absolutely knows.
Down in the loft.
It's like you got to have those big goals. You have to have the vision board, but you also need to be where your feet are.
Yeah, man. It's just the
enjoy
education of
the daily process.
Of course,
is what I always tell our guys is like, you're meeting people every single day. These are interesting conversations. It's a job where you get to be social. It's like, take advantage of that. When somebody, when you're talking to somebody and they're telling you their story or what they have going on in their life, it's like, take genuine interest in that. Because that's one of the things that like gives me the most fulfillment is basically meeting new people, hearing their stories, actually engaging with new people. That kind of fills my cup. And so it's like, I feel like a lot of people, if they get too fixated on the future, they stop doing that. And that's when they get kind of disgruntled. You got to have the big picture long term. That has to be a motivating factor for you, especially if you're going to do things that are extremely difficult. But it's also important to remember, be where your feet are.
For sure. No, I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah.
But I think that's literally being where your feet are, and back to the what is balance. Well, I might, from a time standpoint, not be balanced in my current life of where do I spend the majority of my time. I spend the majority of my time in my role at work every single day. My team, our company gets more of me every single day than my wife or my daughter does.
Right.
But when I'm at home with my wife or my daughter, and having a child has helped me greatly with this, because before it was just work all the time.
Right.
It's constantly building forward. What are we doing? What are we building? What are we creating? How do we get there? And that has helped me slow down tremendously of understanding, okay, hey, I get limited time, especially, as she's this age. I'm not getting this back. When I'm here, how can I be here and not worried about that? And that doesn't mean I don't care about this. And it doesn't mean I'm not prioritizing this. But learning to be in those moments and give those moments everything you have, instead of, I'm doing everything all at the same time and not being productive with any of those things.
Right.
So
makes you a more well-rounded person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to start back over, let's say you got somebody who's got a really unbelievable hungry mindset like you have, and they thought, there's no doubt about it, I'm going to accomplish great things, and they're getting started with the company right now. They're getting started with the first Phorm. Is there some advice you'd give them, and just some more practical advice in the sense of not just make yourself valuable, but is there like an app you would have them pick? Should they try on Instagram? Should they try on TikTok? Should they try on YouTube? Should they try on whatnot? You know what I mean? Like, if you were trying to make yourself valuable within like a Legionnaire program, where would you have them start?
Yeah. Well, outside of just the Legionnaire program, but just looking at, a new hire into our business, your business in general. I think it's back to thinking longer term of what are you trying to accomplish there? Because I think there's getting noticed and being valuable, and both are important. Again, in my beginning of S2, I was just trying to be noticed. I knew there was a lot of other people in front of me. I have to at least even be noticed before there's going to be any possibility here. So I was willing to do whatever at the time. It didn't matter if it was taking out the trash or showing up to work for free. I knew my presence there consistently would get me noticed. And then through that, it's also understanding that, okay, well, you're a new person on the team. You're not going to have trust built in yourself to get some opportunity to go do this big thing or add tremendous value. So it's incrementally earned along the way. That's where, again, I would drive down to HQ every day to empty out Sal and Jason and Andy and Chris's trash cans. It was just so I could be noticed. And at first they would give me a lot of shit about it of, I'm just brown nosing, whatever it is. But when I consistently did it for a long period of time, they're like, oh, well, I mean, this guy's here every single day. And every time I'd be like, hey, is there anything else I can do for you? I mean, I remember one time I was out cleaning Jason Kane's wheels on his car because they looked dirty. I didn't have anything else to do. So I was like, well, I'll clean his wheels. Sal came out and he's making fun of me, but they start realizing, okay, this guy, we didn't even ask him to do these things and he's doing those things. Maybe we should give him some things to do when he asks us to do those things. So you start asking, they start giving you little things, and you do those, and you do those to the best of your ability. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid for it, not getting paid for it. If you were going to do it, it's no different than what we talk about with the weight room of if you're going to put the plates back, put it back 100% right. If you're going to do the job, do it the right way. Well, even in those moments when it seems insignificant, it doesn't seem like a big task or an important task, can you do it the right way? Because if you do the small task the right way, that leverages yourself to get the opportunity for a little bit bigger task. That for me at that time through that progression, it's Andy asking, hey, can I go down to the other garage and hook his cars up to the charger? Sweet. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world because I got to see all of his cars. I got to mess around with them. Awesome. But it was his way of giving me a little bit bigger opportunity to do something a little bit more significant than taking out the trash or writing some cards or whatever it is to go do something for personal for him. How did I do it? Again, do it really well. Okay, well, now I can do something a little bit bigger. So in the beginning, it's just, how do you separate yourself from the crowd? Because you either become part of the crowd and you naturally just move through the system, or you're creating separation. You create that separation by doing things that other people aren't willing to do. So I wouldn't be as specific of, oh, you need to get on this app or you need to do this. It's looking at what is the crowd doing? How do I not only do those things, but what are the other things I could do, even if they're outside my role, even if it's outside of what I want to do? Because a lot of the jobs I've had through my career path are not jobs I wanted to do, but I knew they would lead me to what I did want to do in the future. So I was willing not only to do them, but do them to not only my best of ability, but at a level that nobody else on the team was also willing to do at the time. So it just creates that separation. As you go down that path, you get more autonomy of being able to shape what does that future look like? What is the job you're looking for? You have more trust built for those bigger opportunities.
It's so cool to think about, building out Summer Smash. I don't know how much Summer Smash costs, but easily millions of dollars and millions of dollars in responsibility,
millions
and,
of dollars of
stress. But it all started out with you just taking out some trash, and then they were like,
sure.
All right,
but it's a perfect, perfect, example of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember even at this point whether it was Summer Smash 2 or 3 when Sal was having Enzo. One of the two. Doesn't really matter. But Sal knew that his wife, Raquel, was going to be due on that date. He has the foresight, obviously, 9 months, whatever, leading into that of like, well, maybe she won't go into labor then, but there's a chance I might not be able to be there or at least be available at all the times I need to be available. So I should probably take somebody that I know is reliable that I can take alongside me to help me plan this. So in case that I'm not there, they are there and able to step up and do what needs to be done. Well, who's he going to pick? At that time, I'd already helped him do all of those things. I was doing everything that I could outside of my job. I never asked for a raise because I was doing more of those things. The whole even getting into events started because I was in an entry-level sales role. I knew we'd bring in reps every week, every month, whatever it is. And every time reps would come in, we would take them out to a restaurant. We would put them in a hotel block. We would do some fun activities together. And again, just how I thought about it at the time of like, okay, well, Sal does this now. If I want to be in Sal's role, how do I start doing the things Sal does? And so I would think about, okay, well, we've got this going on in 3 months. I know Sal hasn't done anything for it yet. Let me just start making some phone calls and coming up with some ideas. And I'd bring it to Sal, hey, I know we have this in a few months. Here's some restaurants we could take them to. I've called these places. They have availability. Here's pricing for options. Here's hotel blocks we could use. Here's the room rates. Here's some activities we could do while they're here. And in the beginning, and again, this is Sal being a great leader, like my ideas were garbage. Like I'm not taking them to restaurants we would normally take people to. I'm booking catering at, I don't know, we'll say Wendy's. It wasn't, but, and he knew they weren't good ideas. But he saw that I was at least taking the initiative to do something I wasn't asked to do. And he knew he could work with that. And I'd done that for a long time. And so instead of just, which is easy to do as a leader, you know, somebody that's on your team brings you a stupid idea. It is so easy to just, you know, kick that person out, you know, give them a hard time, dismiss it, and not recognize that is that person putting in extra effort and taking initiative to accomplish this. And Sal saw that, and he worked with it. He's like, hey, look, I appreciate it. These are all bad options, but here's why. Why don't you make these calls to these places, see what they have, and if they're open, book these things. And so he started teaching me how to think.
The how, the why.
And so I started doing that on small events that we did, you know, and just constantly looking at it. I mean, that's my entire progression with Sal throughout our entire company. I've always watched him, you know, even in meetings. Yes, I'm there to learn early on when we're having our company meetings, but I'm also paying attention to why is he saying it that way? What stories does he tell? What analogies does he use? You know, how does he address situations? And just as much notes as I'm taking on what are we talking about, I'm also taking notes on how is he doing it? How does he structure his meetings? What are we talking about? When are we talking about it? Comparing year to year, because I have notebooks full of years worth of notes. And I'll go back even to this day. All right, well, what did we talk about in January, back in 2023? What did we talk about in 24? What are we talking about? You know, every year, I'll look at those notes. And assess, like, you know, and start piecing together the puzzles. He never even came to me and, you know, hey, this is what I talk about. This is why. It's observing and being aware of it. And how do I emulate that? Seeing him doing it. So I'm going to try to do that. And through having bad ideas and him teaching me how he thinks about it and why he does these things, I get better. I evolve. And so the next time we have an athlete weekend or people coming in town and I do the work ahead of time, bring it to them, I'm maybe 50% right. You know, I have some better options. Somebody's like, okay, these are good. Go ahead and lock these in. These are not good. We've done them in the past. You know, maybe there's a situation, whatever it was. You know, so let's get some different options here. And over time, you know, he just gave me that job. And again, that didn't come with a pay increase. That was just, you know, I was just doing the work for him. So then when it comes time for Summer Smash and he's potentially going to be out, well, who's he going to choose for that? Well, Aaron's already doing all the work for all of our other events. We don't even pay him to do it, and we don't even ask him to do it. I still don't get paid to do our events. Like, it's just a part of what I have inherited along the way. But I owned the responsibility, you know, and I made myself the natural selection in that process for there was a need. Well, who are we going to pick? Well, it's obviously this guy, you know, and so yeah, you know, he has his kid, brings me alongside him, you know, to plan the entire thing. It's me, again, just observing in that moment. I wasn't making any of the calls. He might give me some tasks to do. And then as, you know, fortune has it, you know, they gave birth to his son, Enzo, on I think the night before Summer Smash, the main event. So it was like the Friday night event. Obviously, it's a multi-day event. He was going to be gone the next day, and I take over. And then from that point, the rest is like, all right, well, you got it. You already ran it once. So, you know, he just passed off those responsibilities. And here we are, 11 events later.
Aaron, we love you. Thanks so much for taking the time to be here, dude. And we also got to stretch it into 2 episodes, which is cool.
Love you guys.
Yep.
Love you, buddy.
Looking forward.
Good luck.
Looking forward to Summer Smash. Let us know
Good
if we can
luck.
help.
I'm going to need it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys will have the first class taken along the way.
Love it.
Yeah.